Hi, welcome to myprojectbazaar.com. In this video, we'll provide the complete demo about that project of a hierarchical reliability driven scheduling algorithm in grid system under the domain of grid computing. Grid computing is a sufficient technologies to improve the resource execution in grid. Execution of resources may follow the scheduling approaches. Generally, scheduling approaches will improve resource utilization in grids. The another one important factor of grid computing is fault tolerance. Fault prediction and the fault recovery will be complexity due to the dynamic nature of the grid computing. Our proposed mechanism to improve the scheduling of grid resources. For this one, we introduced the hierarchical fault scheduling for our computational grids. In our proposed mechanism, schedulings will happen at the level of global grid schedulers and local grid schedulers. We consider both quality of service factors and also the fault occurrence for each resources. This fault tolerance system should be able to predict the failures and improve the failure schedulings. Next we are going to see the flow of this process. For this process, first we need to create that grid environment. In this environment, first we have to setting that set of resources and their properties like MAPS rating, number of machines, number of processing elements, and the routers which is going to be connected with a geo information server with grid resources. Then we have to creating the number of users and collecting the job from that user. Here we call the job as gridlets. Next we have to sharing that key in the distributed environment as a grid environment. For this one, each resource having a unique keys. After this we have to computing the scheduling mechanisms depending upon the expected time, also a fault rate consideration. From this we have to computing some of the health messages and get the minimum time of execution, and the particular resource will be allocated to the job to execute. After that allocation list, we have to transmit and submitting the job to that individual resource which is allocated for this execution. After that execution results, we have to analyzing the expected time and execution time results and also the system failure analysis. If the failure will occurrence means the resource failure rate will getting increased and the job will be resubmitted to that another one resources. From this we have to providing that fault tolerant. Next we going to see the complete demo of fault tolerant grid in hierarchical. In this process, first we need to run that homepage.java. For this one, first we have to producing the number of schedulers we record. Next we need to getting that. So for this one, we need to selecting that router file which containing that global grid resource scheduler and local grid resource scheduler. After we getting this, we move to the next frame and putting that number of users, then number of resources, number of grid information server as well as number of gridlets, number of machines, number of processing element and resource name. After setting this environment variable, we have to getting that confirmation message properties are setting successfully. After this we have to creating that grid information server and grid resources. This will creating that grid environment. Next we need to creating that set of users and their jobs. So here we have to providing that 4 jobs and 4 users. Thus we getting that 16 jobs for execution. Next we move to computing that scheduling parameters. For this schedulers we have a 4 schedule local schedulers. These 4 local schedulers having that unique keys. These keys will be distributed from that global servers. Next we going to be getting that input file for jobs. In this files are containing the job description. After this we have to generating that MAC key for all input job files. This MAC key will used for checking the data integrity. After this we have to computing that resource properties and saving this resource property to SQL for further communication. After this we have to storing this into SQLs. This SQLs will showing that grid information servers properties. Next we have to creating that graphical representation for providing that GUI information. Then next we have to creating the resources, jobs as well as scheduling parameters. In this scheduling each jobs will computing the name and their MAPS rating. So thus allocated resources will showing that which resource will getting their job. After that we have to encrypt that content for jobs. After this encryption we have to sending the job file description to resources. This will improve the security for fault tolerant. Next we have to getting that expected time for each jobs and their allocation status. After this allocated list we have to selecting some set of resources to executing the job and submitting the job to each resources. Then finally we have to getting that key and decrypt that jobs in the resource side, and after that decryption the process will be continued. After this decryption we viewing that concepts, then we have to getting the description of job files which will be encrypted under the decrypted content. Next we have to getting that keys and decrypt the jobs and computing that gridlet length and status. Then verification of MAC will showing that job which is successful or not. So there is jobs will be resubmitted successfully. Then next we move to that execution process. In this execution we have to submitting the jobs to each resources and executing results. This will shown in the starting time and ending time, execution time for each jobs. So after this computation we have to computing that failure rate. For this one we have to computing the execution time with expected time. So this will showing the status of jobs will be a success or failure. This will improving that failure, this will reducing that failure rate. So after we getting this results we have to send it to which kind of failure will occur. Finally we have to resubmitting the jobs to another two resources. Then we have to executing the job and get the results as success. Finally we evaluate that graphs which was showing that system reliability and speed up as well as fault rate plus success rate. So our proposed system will be decreasing that fault rate and increasing the success rate. From this we have to achieving that reliable grid environment system to reducing that fault rate. Thanks for watching.